and welcome to Salubrious Skin with Dr. Irene. Today I'm joined by a very special guest who is a passionate advocate of healthy eating and living, which has recently extended to the food choices we give to our pets. So please welcome Pete Evans.
Good morning, or whatever time you're watching this. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. And, you know, your bio is extensive and I could go on, but I thought I'd keep it short and sweet because your name pretty much says it all. So I don't need to go through all that. But today it's all about understanding the paleo way of eating and living. And I found a special interest in that because of my own experiences with psoriasis. I was completely covered by the time I was 16 years of age. And, you know, it was so hard to find information around food, especially when the doctors were telling me there was absolutely no relevance with food and my skin. But I felt it as soon as I ate something, I would felt like I was on fire. So I knew there was some relevance, a significant relevance at that. And it really is a trial and error for me. And in speaking with someone a few years ago, they said, well, it sounds like you're on this paleo diet. And I'm thinking, oh, I'd never even heard of the paleo diet. So I still don't know a huge amount of it, clearly not as much as yourself, but I do want to know more because, you know, as we grow and learn and we can fine tune what we're doing, we can certainly improve our health, and autoimmune diseases are my passion. So having said that it helped my autoimmune disease, I'm very comfortable to think that it would help everyone's autoimmune disease and extending into just general health as well. So what are the basic principles of the paleo diet and the paleo way of living?
Sure, it's really simple. It's meat and vegetables.
Okay.
It's about as complicated as it is.
So with regards to vegetables, does it extend to the nightshades as well? So onions and all that sort of thing?
Sure. So my simple definition is the paleo approach is generally a low carbohydrate, healthy fat approach to eating with the most inflammatory foods taken out.
Okay.
So, and the most inflammatory foods for humans are the dairy, the grains, the legumes. Mm-hmm. So what does that leave us with? It leaves us with meat, seafood, eggs, fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Basically, that's the template. If you have an autoimmune disease, then we generally would prescribe or advise or ask you to have a think about what are the foods that could be causing you problems. And you said nightshades, and that's a brilliant one. So we see that nightshades really can flare up people's skins. It can flare up their joints. So nightshades are a family of vegetables/fruits, if that's the right terminology, because it contains chilies, capsicums, eggplants, potatoes, goji berries, for instance, and I know that tomatoes. So in there is fruits, obviously, and also what you would call vegetables, I presume, the tubers, I guess. So if we've got the nightshades, we also have to look at eggs, nuts, and seeds because they can also be very problematic for people who have autoimmune issues as well, or autoimmune diseases. So again, that brings us back to basically meat, seafood, vegetables, or vegetables that aren't nightshades. And that seems to work across the board for pretty much everybody. Some people, I mean, we're all individual, and certain foods can trigger us. Some people can be affected by onions or leeks or garlic as well. So it's important that we get accurate testing done. So much so that we're even seeing these days that even a pure carnivore diet, which is just meat or seafood, for a period of time might also be beneficial because sometimes even normal vegetables can be flaring people up. So I'm of the camp that I love to eat vegetables and I love to eat meat and seafood and eggs from time to time as well. So I keep pretty much every single meal that I eat to that template. For instance, last night, picked my daughter up from the airport. We came home, we cooked some beautiful wild snapper. And next to that, we had some sprouts, we had some vegetables, we had some good fat on there in the form of a dressing. We had some mayonnaise as well. So we're getting these lower carbohydrate approach to food with really good fats from either plant-based fats or meat or seafood-based fats. And we're also getting in there the animal protein, which I think a lot of people are scared of these days through misinformation. And hand on my heart, I can tell you there is nothing wrong with eating well-sourced seafood or meat if it's grown properly or raised properly, and it's had a natural diet. That would be what I would search out instead of factory farms or caged farms, because that just isn't right on so many levels, especially for the ethical reasons and the treatment of animals. But there's also the health implications too.
Yeah, and so biodynamic meats is probably the better way to go, because they really nurture their ecosystem to encourage that regeneration of growth, really.
Yeah, holistic farming practices are where it's at. And to understand a little bit more, you can check out our documentary, The Magic Pill, which is on Netflix and iTunes. And we do an interview there with Joel Salatin, who is basically the guru farmer that is encouraging people to farm holistically. And we also talked to Leah Keith, who is the author of The Vegetarian Myth, who once was a vegan/vegetarian and who suffered ill health consequences after a period of eating that way. And it's interesting because a lot of people do go vegetarian or vegan. It seems to be a popular thing these days. And you can feel good on that for a year or two. But sometimes, in my case as well, when I did it for 4 years at the age of 20, I felt fantastic for the first year, and then it was a steady decline into a place where I never wanted to go again, which was feeling very, very sick. And the answers are very simple. For me anyway, and for many others. I haven't heard of anyone that's gotten sicker from eating well-sourced meat, seafood, and vegetables.
Yeah, and when I cut carbs out predominantly, my whole body, even though I didn't have many lesions, my body, the skin was clearer. So it wasn't as red under the skin. Even though I didn't have a rash, my skin seemed red. So just taking all those carbs out and legumes out, it almost like was a fire extinguisher and just dissolved everything. It was amazing, incredible. And in actual fact, people are so stressed about fat and weight. In actual fact, I'm Greek background, so I love my extra virgin olive oil, and I kind of soak my food in it a little bit. But I actually was losing weight from it, and I say to my patients, don't be afraid of fat as long as it's your good, healthy fat. Don't sit there worrying about fat. It's your carbs that are going to increase your weight. So it's really retraining that thought process. And like you said, certain marketing machines have their own agenda. So in spruiking the whole fat myth that fat is bad for you, people were misled down a path that caused more inflammation, I think, by eating more carbs and less fats. So yeah. So
the answer is pretty simple. If we, from a dietary point of view, but I do want to just say this, that you can eat all the beautiful food in the world, as I just explained, but you can still suffer disease. So I see this as a multifaceted approach that we need to take into account. First and foremost, our emotional well-being. I think that is paramount. And whatever that means for you is, how do you think about your place in this world? How do you go about your day-to-day interactions? Are you positive? Do you worry about certain things, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your career, whether it's your purpose, whether it's whatever it may be? I think for me, that is the most important part of being healthy, is understanding our emotional well-being. And there are many tools that people could use to analyze that and become aware, and actually start to cultivate a practice of just like nourishing yourself with diet. It's nourishing yourself with understanding how you think and how you behave, and your belief patterns. And on top of that, then we go into sleep, which is equally as important. How do you sleep every night? Are you getting your 8 hours every single night? I just had 9 hours and I feel fantastic. It's early morning and I'm like, whoa, here we go. Because the night before I had 3 hours because I was working on one of my projects, and it takes me into the early hours of the morning. So I see sleep as such an important factor, and generally 99% of my life I'm getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. That's my intent and that's my goal, and I feel great by doing it. So we have food, we have emotional nutrition, if you like, we have sleep, and then obviously we have water, or beverage of choice. And I can't stipulate enough that pure, clean, or the cleanest possible water is paramount. On top of that, we have our relationship with nature. Are we getting outside? Are we breathing fresh air? Are we getting connected to the sun? Are we getting connected to the earth, or to this wonderful ecosystem in which we once inhabited we had an intimate relationship with, whereas these days we seem to be disconnected from the natural world to a great deal. And then obviously it's how we breathe, and it's how we move, and add to that then the environmental pressures that we face if we're living in the modern world. Like this, if we've got Wi-Fi on, if we've got mold in the house, if we have, if we work in a space where there's 100 different Wi-Fi devices all in that vicinity. Do we live near a electrical power station? Do we sleep with our Wi-Fi devices or our phones on near our heads? Do we turn them off? Is there an electrical power point right behind where you sleep? All of these factors are equally as important, and it could just be one of them that is throwing you out of balance. And I think that's the key here, is finding that balance in yourself. And if you really take the time to think about any of those things and what may need rebalancing, you know all the answers yourself. Is it food? Is it diet? Is it beverage? Is it addictions based on emotional negative belief patterns or trauma in your life that is unresolved, which leads you to drink Coca-Cola or eat McDonald's or drink alcohol or gamble or sex addiction or whatever it may be? Is it that we're not getting enough recreational time or play time in our life? And we will know this. Are we workaholics? Are we stressaholics? And if you really think about it and write down those pillars of health, and maybe rate yourself from 1 to 10, as 10 being fantastic, I'm doing the best I can, or 1 being like, oh fuck, I don't really do any of that, but maybe there's room for improvement, then you don't have to get to 10 in a day, but you can start to implement changes. It could be as simple as, for instance, I wanted to start doing cold water therapy, and every single day over the last 2 weeks, I've not forced myself, but I've wanted to explore this. And it's interesting. Right now we're doing this podcast. This is the time that I would be walking down with my little little dog down to the beach now, and I think she's waiting for me to go down there, because we've turned it into a bit of a ritual now. And
so what's cold water therapy? Sorry for interrupting, but what's cold water therapy like?
Well, at its basic, for me, it's a reconnection to nature. So for me, I see getting connected to the earth, or in some aspect, whether it be taking your shoes off and going for a walk on the beach, or going for a walk in the park, that's it. But from the research I've done on earthing or grounding, the best thing you can do is actually envelop yourself in nature, whether it be in the ocean or in a lake or in a stream or a river, however you can get fully immersed in that water. And we call it the spiritual bath. And that's one aspect of it. But the second aspect is cold water therapy is if you can immerse yourself in cold water, and that comes down to breathing as one part of it. So you're sort of getting a double whammy or triple whammy for this. You're getting earthed or grounded. You're also getting your breath work done, which forms a sort of creates a form of meditation. But you're also immersing yourself in this cold water, which basically enlivens your whole system. Like it basically, it's like resetting your system, and it's amazing. Like it's just come out of winter, but the actual temperature of the ocean at the moment where I live in Sydney is the coldest it is all year, right right at this period of time. And it's awesome. You go down to these ocean pools and there's no one there. And that's the crazy thing. We live in Sydney. I live in Sydney, and there's 5 million people here. And you can go down to one of these 20 or 30 ocean pools that line the coastline, and generally there's pretty much nobody there. And it's free. This is free medicine. This is free therapy. This is completely free. So it's not like it's and you don't have to go to the ocean to do it if you live in the West. I mean, you can go down to the harbour if it's clean, or you can, however it is, your form of connecting back to nature. It's interesting. I mean, I'm sitting here now on I can't show it to you, but I'm sitting here right now on a pulsed electronic magnetic field. You know, that's putting out these vibrations, frequency vibrations. So I'm sitting here sort of doing therapy at the same time while we're having this chat. And I guess that it comes down to, how do you utilize your time? How do you best nourish yourself with the 24 hours in a day that you have? What are your priorities? What are your values? What are your resources? What are your values? I mean, what is your budget to spend on this? You know, for instance, this mat I think it cost me a couple of grand, but I'm going to use it for the next 20 years if hopefully it doesn't break. You know, and I sleep on that as well, and and it helps me get into a super deep sleep really quickly. So I know I'm not here to promote this or sell it, but I'm just throwing things out there. There's things you can do for free, and there's things you can do to biohack your system, which also hopefully can increase your lifespan. And I always say it's great to add years to your life, but it's also great to add life to your years. So we do what we can.
And it's no fun being sick and living longer. It's certainly important to live a healthy, happy life. So, and it's great that like you said, you're doing one thing now by speaking on this podcast, but you actually are continuously rejuvenating your health. And so implementing various things within your day and not necessarily knowing that you are encouraging your health is something that people can do from the morning they wake up to the time they go to sleep. And I think that's what's really important for people to know.
And it's funny, I'm not even fanatical or obsessed about it. It's just a way of life now. So even when we talk about food, I actually don't think about that it's healthy food or this, that, or the other. Like, I travel a lot. So for instance, I do a show with a friend of mine, Manu Fidel, called My Kitchen Rules. And the two of us will go out and eat. And it's not always organic or grass-fed or this, that, and the other, but we have a great time by sharing a lunch together, and he'll order his things off the menu, I'll order my things off the menu, and we're as happy as each other eating delicious food. And it's now just a simple formula that really seems to benefit me. And it's nearly by default now that it's you have to be careful not to let it I won't say consume, because I think it's important that we think about the choices that we make in life. But I find this a very simple and easy way of life that I don't get stressed about I never really have been stressed about it either.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
just cook delicious food based on those principles.
yeah.
So that's what I have in my fridge. It's meat, it's vegetables, it's seafood, it's eggs, it's
Mm,
herbs, it's
mm,
spices.
mm,
We have a great water system in the home, so everything is there, so to
mm.
speak.
Yeah.
So
And I
and
think,
that
yeah,
keep going. Sorry.
it's implementing it into your life. And I get a lot of people ask me, how do you not eat sugar, and how do you not have your coffee? And I just say I don't want it. I haven't had sugar since I was 15. I certainly don't miss it. I had a teaspoon at my wedding, because my dad was raving on how delicious the cake was, and I was just so curious, and I spat it out instantly because it was just it was intense for my taste buds, couldn't handle it. So it's really, I think, just living this way, it's not really a choice, it's just the way you enjoy living. And I would rather eat clean and healthy and wear a t-shirt on a hot day versus being all rugged up like I used to be with, my hat, big clothes, so no one could even notice that I had any lesions on my body. I didn't want anyone to recognize I had any problem, and it was a lot of shame and stress around that. So I find it more alleviating to eat this way versus stressful, because
Yeah.
I'm healthy and I'm happy, and then because you have clarity in your mind, then you can extend it out to other areas of your life, like you said, with looking at emotions and personality traits and relationships and goals and all that sort of stuff, because your head is clear, doesn't have that inflammation from the food we're eating. So my curiosity is, because I've got a 3-year-old toddler who, when he was little, he's still little, but I'd give him Brussels sprouts and salmon and turkey and broccoli and all this stuff, and now it's become so difficult. And I still try and have the organic stuff at home. So yesterday I had organic cornflakes, just dry, and then I've got the organic rice rice biscuits with chia seeds. But he didn't want his dinner last night. He wanted biscuits. So how do you implement these to children or even toddlers that are so fussy? He's doing my head in right now because I'm so passionate about feeding his system really well. But children are really fussy with their food. How do you get your children to follow suit?
Um, well, okay. It comes down to, I guess, what I said before. Whatever you have in your house if you set it up, that's what you eat.
Mm,
So my question to you would be, why are you having cornflakes, for instance, or why do you have rice crackers in the house?
yeah.
I mean, it's a he, yes?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
He wouldn't even know what they are until you presented it
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
So um, it's like people say, "Oh, my child only eats white bread." It's like, well, how did they even come
No, it
to
was
even
white
eat
bread.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What there had to be an initial time for them to discover that.
Yeah.
So if they never discovered these, uh, uh, put it this way, I don't have those foods in my house. We might
Yeah.
have alternatives to them.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go down a cereal route, then I would. There's things out there you can make yourself, or you could purchase at a health food store.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't see or cornflakes as a health food, and I wouldn't see rice crackers as a health food or
Yeah.
something that I'd feed my kids. We stick to the basics. We feed them. Yeah, it's it was interesting. It's the same thing because we had this discussion. Manu was with me the other night, and we were having a discussion at work with some people in the competition, and they talked about a dish that they had to create to hide the seafood in the dish for their kids. And I was thinking exactly what Manu thought. He goes, "Why are you
Why?
trying to hide something? Just cook them the fish,
Yeah.
right? And cook it in a way that's delicious and simple.
Yeah.
Go back to last night. I cooked a piece of snapper, and it's so simple, and kids are intuitively smart.
Mm,
And it, put it this way: if I cooked you if I didn't cook you a piece of fish with salad or vegetables like I did last night, and I just ordered pizza in,
Mm.
right, and you didn't know anything different, and it was just presented to you like your child, and they ate the pizza, they'd be like, "Oh, this tastes pretty good," you know. Well, it's easy to eat. I like it. It's not too confronting. It's got the salt. It's got the whatever it is in there. It's
Yeah.
got the fat from the cheese. Oh, maybe I'll eat that again. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
it's it's conditioning. Same thing with pets and animals. You know, you can. There's a reason why we're attracted to sweet things is because it tastes good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And children, for instance, there's a reason why they're attracted to bland foods as well, or bland sugary foods, is because it generally jacks their system up as well.
Mm.
Because I mean, if you look at the carb content, you say you don't eat sugar, but if you read the carb content of, say, cornflakes,
Mm.
you probably wouldn't eat that yourself,
Yeah. So
right? Because
that brings me to the question of, so this is organic cornflakes
oh,
I get, but the corn debacle, I'm really, because this is non-GMO corn, right? Because I know corn is all genetically modified, but the organic corn is not genetically modified. Do you still avoid corn?
well, let's put it this way. How much nutrition is in that bowl of cornflakes?
Oh, well, yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. No.
So why would you sacrifice one of the meals of the day to your child that has little to no nutritional value that actually could be causing a problem?
Yeah, I know. You're right.
So
You're absolutely right.
that's a different way of thinking about things.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, when I cook my kids' breakfast, they start with, they want a piece of fruit, they might have some coconut yogurt, but I give them a broth every day, and they also have some eggs, some meat, or some seafood, and a little bit of greens on there.
Yeah.
And I don't eat breakfast like that at that time of the day because I'm an adult. I eat 1 to 2 meals a day, and
Yeah.
my usual meal is after lunchtime, usually 1 or 2 o'clock.
Okay.
But my kids, because they're growing,
Yeah.
and pregnant women, breastfeeding women also are growing, or having to grow or create extra food in the sense of breastfeeding women. They need more food, so my kids eat this huge amount of food for breakfast, so then they eat again for lunch and they eat again for dinner.
Mm.
So it's and I know where you're going with it. Should I be eating corn? Should I not be eating corn? It's like, should I be eating quinoa? Should I not be eating quinoa? Should I be eating this? Should I not be eating that? Go back to the principle of how nutritionally dense is that food that you're actually serving. And for me, whenever I'm feeding my kids, it's about how is that a meal for them that I
Mm.
believe and I know is going to nurture them and nourish them and strengthen them, instead of just,
Fill their bellies.
yeah, but it doesn't even fill their bellies, and you
Yeah.
know that, because
Yeah.
it's just sugar and it just jacks them up, and then an hour later they'll be hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. So your children have, because my breakfast is turkey. Like today, I had turkey with Brussels sprouts. So is that what do you give your children? Cold meats, or is it fresh meats in the form of
It's a variety.
yeah, so
So
they can
it's a
just
variety.
pick and choose
Yeah.
what they want to eat from the
Yeah,
array.
some days I cook them some bacon. Some days it's a good sausage. Sometimes it's some smoked salmon on the side of their plate.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just eggs. We generally, I my my daughters. I mean, this might sound strange, but one of their first foods that they got to eat was salmon roe or salmon caviar,
Mm-hmm.
and that's their favorite food in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. I'll have some coconut ice cream in the freezer,
Mm.
and I'll say to my kids, "Do you want a scoop of that after dinner?" You know,
Mm.
and they'll go, "Is there any salmon roe?" Yeah,
Oh,
they would rather eat that as their
yeah.
dessert, and it's freaking expensive. And
Yeah, I
like,
was going to say.
I've got friends that actually have a farm that create this, so I get a good deal.
Oh, that's good.
Otherwise, it would cost me a fortune. But but that's what they love, and that's their treat. And when you think
Mm,
about it, it's so nutrient dense, and they get a teaspoon. It might
mm,
cost me a couple of dollars,
yeah.
but I just know that that
Mm,
that's what makes them happy. Their bodies sing when they eat that, and they
mm,
don't get it every single day. But that's that's a treat that I can bring into their diet, and I
yeah.
love it. So,
Yeah.
uh, keep it really simple. If they
Yeah.
can tolerate eggs, give them some eggs and give them
Yeah.
some veggie. You
Mm.
know, even last night I've got some broccoli on the plate with the fish, and my daughter's like, "Do I have to eat the rest of it?" I'm like, "Uh huh, yeah,
Yeah. You kind of
yeah."
do.
Well, children will always
Yeah.
test you, and
Mm,
they're seeing if you're going to give in. They're
yeah.
going to see if they're the boss.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know.
know. See, I always cook the broccoli, and one day I was preparing food, and my little boy just grabbed the broccoli and walked away and started eating. And I was like, "Oh, I never thought of giving it to you raw. I'll give him carrots and things like that, but I never thought of actually giving him broccoli raw. I think he actually liked it raw better than cooked.
But
So,
they'll test you, and they'll work out what how they can what that situation means,
mm,
and fussy kids. I won't say this is general, but you'd have to say, well, what's the dynamic there?
mm,
Is the child in charge of their nutrition, or are you in charge of the nutrition? And
yeah,
obviously, there's kids with sensory processing um, issues, or
mm-hmm,
kids on the spectrum that have issues with certain types of food and certain textures, and all I'd say is you can read a book called Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha McBride, or
mm,
or visit the Mind Foundation to get help for those sort of things for your child.
mm,
And we even showed that in the Magic Pill, our documentary, with a young girl with autism.
mm,
All she ate was chicken nuggets, Doritos, and apple juice, and something else.
mm,
Um, and the parent decided to take back control
mm,
of his child's nutrition
yeah,
instead of letting them dictate it.
mm,
And 3 or 4 days, the child wouldn't eat
mm,
until it broke a barrier where it was like, okay. And he was cooking steak and veg, chicken and veg, the whole thing, until
mm,
finally on day 5. And I'm not recommending this for people, but I'm just showing that this father came to the realization that his daughter was having 50 seizures a day, epileptic seizures, plus she was on the autism spectrum. And
mm,
he realized that change wasn't going to happen until he implemented some changes. And
mm,
one of them was diet. And even though it was very difficult for him and the family, finally, after day 5, the food that he wanted to serve her and knew that would benefit her, she came around, and
mm.
she started using a knife and fork, for instance, and eating food that he never thought that she'd eat.
Yeah,
But, but he stood his ground because he cared about his daughter and the outcome.
yeah,
Giving in to your child does not mean that you care for them. you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
you're the parent. It's at this particular point in time, while they're under your care, then you have to nourish them in
yeah,
every possible way and teach them and guide them, and then you get the hell out of the way when,
yeah,
when they can develop their own thoughts and look after themselves,
yeah.
and
No,
encourage them to be unique and not like you
yeah.
or me.
I know you've certainly inspired me. I'm going to go home and clean my pantry out because it's actually a very uneasy feeling I get when I see him do that because of my own experience with my skin. I obviously do have a little bit of angst associated around what I feed him, and when he was younger and would eat whatever I gave him, and now I'm just struggling with this. I think it's him just asserting his own identity in choosing what he wants to choose. I just have to say you're 3 and you're not eating that. And last night there were arguments and stuff, and I was just taking all this stuff off him, but I need to actually not have it in the house. Like you said, I kind of look at it from the perspective of, okay, well, maybe it's a healthy snack, but he doesn't necessarily understand what a snack is. He's feeling his tummy is hungry, so he'll go and do all that. So I think I'm going to piff him in the rubbish bin and do it. yeah, I've already got in my head what I'm going to be preparing for dinner tonight.
And it's the language you use and the communication. I think a lot of people, especially parents, overlook that
Yeah,
important part of it. You
yeah,
know, it's nourishment, it's education, it's connection, it's unconditional love. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's trust, it's acceptance, it's forming that relationship. You know,
Yeah,
and
and those
you
recipes
don't
that
need.
you're talking about are all in your cookbooks, because you've got such diverse cookbooks that people can actually go and grab any of them really and get a good idea of how to start implementing these meals for their family pretty much instantly. So
Yeah,
that's fantastic. You know, it's all available to everyone. Very
and make it fun. Look at the
mm,
cookbook or look online and look at different recipes and say, you know, I say it to my children all the time. What do you want to eat this weekend when I have them, or when we're doing something, or where do you want to go out this weekend?
yeah,
You know, get. I mean, 3 is maybe just a little tad young, but they can still help. I mean, when my kids were 3, they'd sit at the bench and I'd give them a bunch of basil, for instance, or some parsley, and teach them to pick that or crack an egg, or, you know,
yeah,
so they're part of it, and
mm,
take them shopping and help them. Oh, could you grab some of that asparagus or that broccoli over there?
mm,
Or, you know, whatever it may be, just so they feel a part of it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
instead of disconnected from it. So
Yeah. And I love that idea of helping them prep food, because then they see the whole process and understand that, you know, how food comes together, and then they'll be excited because they prepared it, and then they'll be thinking, oh, well, I prepared this, so it's time to eat it. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, that's really awesome. I've yeah, I'm going to change a few things. My husband, I think, is a little bit addicted to chocolate, so I said to him, if you want to eat it, you're an adult. I'm not going to stop you from eating it, but it has to be done outside of the household. I don't want it done in front of him, because then he's just going to think that's acceptable. So that's a little bit of a challenge for me. But you know,
Hey, I eat chocolate most days. There's some good quality
yeah,
dark
that's good.
chocolate out
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
And but kids probably shouldn't, definitely shouldn't be eating chocolate at a young age.
yeah. No, that's for sure.
There's something in it that's not great for children. So
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered everything, haven't we? The paleo way of living, the paleo way of eating, implementing this to our families. Is there anything that you want to share that you feel we haven't talked about?
uh, hit me with something and we could go on a path if you like. So
Well,
anything you'd like to know.
I think dining out for me is always a struggle, because I, I'm very particular. Like, I don't even have seasoning. The only seasoning I have is salt and sea salt. I have sea salt and olive oil. So if someone has these sort of food restrictions, do you know of any association that they can look up restaurants? Or, I mean, being you know, a chef yourself, anything we can say to, you know, the chefs of the restaurant to help them prepare something that we can eat? Any advice there?
I'm not. It's difficult because you have to understand that a restaurant is a business. It's
Mm,
like McDonald's is a business. People always say, why don't you attack the fast food industries, or why can't you campaign against people eating it? I'm like, it's a business.
mm,
There is nothing wrong with a McDonald's existing,
yeah.
right? Because it can only exist if people go there. It's a business,
Mm,
right? So a restaurant that you go to is a business. Now, for you to, what's the best way to say this? A business is created because somebody or a group of people, or however it is set up, wants to present a product for people to buy,
yeah.
or they want to sell it, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's as simple as that. So for the people that go to McDonald's, they are after that product,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't go to McDonald's because that is not a product that I want to consume for myself or my family. And I don't have an issue with them being wherever they are. I think it's You know, I actually started my career at working at McDonald's, so I'm grateful that they were there, because it taught me a lot about teamwork, cleanliness, organisation, systems, the whole thing. I mean, it was a wonderful education for me. So, so going to a restaurant, you have to understand that that restaurant that you choose to go, you're going there because of the product that they're selling.
Yeah. So if the product's not in line with what you need, then you don't go.
Well, you go, but you accept that
What
you're
they have.
going to a place that potentially doesn't have what you would normally have.
Yeah.
So for you to go in there and then say, can I get this, this, and this? You know, I don't know the outcome of what's going to happen in
Yeah.
that situation, but you also have to have the understanding that maybe your needs are not going to be met.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's because people say, oh, I find it really hard to go out for dinner. I'm like, well, it depends on what your expectations are. See,
Mm.
I go out, as I said before, I go out to eat with my friend Manu when we're in different states. My expectations are I will go and eat to the best of my, I will eat the best food that they have on offer.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mm.
if it's a dish, I might go, hey, listen, I mightn't, like one of my favorite restaurants is down in North Bondi, and I'll go, you know what, can I get that fish curry today without the rice, but maybe throw in a couple of extra vegetables for me? And they'll
Okay.
go, I'll go check with the chef.
Yeah.
I go, okay. But I understand that my request may not be met,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I can't get upset at the establishment because I'm trying to change their product. It's like if you go to a
Yeah.
shoe store and they've got shoes and you go, hey, I actually don't like those shoelaces. Can I get those other ones? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it comes. You know,
Yeah.
that's how
I
we
love
sell them.
that. I've never actually thought about it like that. I don't go out because obviously I don't want to be, you know, a pain and request all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I love the fact that it is a business. Like you said, it's a business. They've got a product. This is a product they're serving. If it's not in line with what resonates with you, then, you know, you can, I guess, call ahead of earlier and ask them if they're able to accommodate. And if they're not, then essentially it's best to look for another product. So
Yeah. And then it comes down to, I mean, again, it comes down to language. It comes down to identity, because if you are one of those people that go there and they don't give you what you want,
mm,
you know, are you then playing the victim? Are
mm,
you shifting blame from your own, what you wanted to achieve in that situation,
mm,
to somebody else? You
yeah,
know, and just think about this in your life, how you, because it's a relationship. It's a
yeah,
relationship with self. It's a relationship and an expectation on others.
mm,
So, for instance, I mean, my kids go to so many birthday parties, right? And we know the type of food that is going to be there. Generally, it's going to be pizzas or something cheap that is going to please, well, what the parents think is going to please 20 kids, you know,
yeah,
from different backgrounds and different ages and different dietary preferences. But they
mm,
know if we just order pizzas, or we just order Kentucky Fried Chicken, or if we just order this, you know, most of them will be happy.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Because if we get some fish and salad or meat and salad, maybe some kids that have never been introduced to this type of food, you
yeah,
know, some kids eat macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets and pizza and fast food every
yeah,
single night of their life.
yeah,
So my way of dealing with that is, if I can, I will feed the kids before they go,
yeah,
you know, something. So once they get there, they can then choose if they want to eat whatever is on offer.
yeah,
And I don't say, hey, don't eat that. I just go, well, let's get some food into you first so that you're not craving, and
mm.
whatever comes through is presented. You're like, fuck, I got to eat that. You know, I'm starving.
Because you're starving. Yeah, exactly.
But at least if something comes through, whether it's pizzas, they can go, you know what, maybe I'll just have a slice, or maybe I'll have a bite, or if they're full, they might go, you know what, I actually just ate, whatever it
Yeah,
may be.
yeah,
So that's my way of dealing with birthday parties, for
yeah,
instance. It's not don't eat that. It's like,
yeah,
well, do you want to eat that? Are you full
yeah,
prior to going to the party?
Yeah.
know.
And that's what I used to do when I was younger, where, you know, now that I'm older, there's not that many gatherings socially for birthdays. But whenever friends had birthday parties at restaurants, that's what I would do. I would eat beforehand and have a look and think, oh, if there's a salad or something, I'll have it. If not, I'm not really hungry anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. So,
Yeah. And if they eat a slice, so be it. One
yeah,
slice would be better than them eating 4 slices of
yeah.
pizza, for instance.
And
You know.
you know, 95% of the time, or if not more, they're eating great. So
Yeah.
their gut is able to handle that little bit of food that maybe isn't so fantastic. So
But
yeah,
it's also a great education for them as well,
yeah,
because if they don't get a chance to eat prior and they go there and they're hungry and they eat whatever's on offer, if it's not great, then they can actually witness and understand and have awareness of what that type of foods does for them. So there's
mm,
nothing wrong in this. It's just education and understanding and awareness, and not being blaming other people or being the victim or these
yeah,
types of things. It's and that comes back to the pillars of health that we spoke about:
yeah.
emotional well-being.
Yeah,
You know.
I was actually in New Zealand presenting at a conference, and I spoke to one of the practitioners there, and they were telling me they'd seen your show, The Magic Pill, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, it's fantastic, and all this, and they were going on about how the information in it was really insightful for them, and uh, you know, I think it's something that people can start off with if they don't have any of your other resources. Just go watch The Magic Pill. Gives them a huge amount of insight into what things they can make, the changes they can make in their diet and lifestyle, and then progress gradually out of there. And you know, it's great that you got all these resources. And just quickly, I wanted to touch on, my brother has a little dog who he adores, and so now you've entered the world of dog food. Is that
Yep,
correct?
pet food.
Or
Yep,
pet food, sorry, pet food. So where is it accessible? Where can people
sure.
get that
So
from?
it's in selected pet food stores. If they don't have it, ask them if they can stock it. If it's not
Yeah,
at your local,
yeah,
people can order it online, healthyeverydaypets.com.au.
yeah.
So it's called Healthy Everyday Pets. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to, because I have my family, my wife and I have a beautiful dog. We used to have a cat, but we gave it away this year to a friend because we didn't want to. It was a farm cat, and we're spending a bit more time in Sydney at the moment with the kids. So we didn't want to bring our cat down and to live in a urban jungle, so to speak. After she'd been brought up on a farm, so our friend
Yeah.
has a 12-year-old daughter with 5 acres, and the daughter
Oh,
really wanted a cat, so she's gone to this amazing family,
yeah.
so she could still be a hunter and go out at night and get the mouses and hunt whatever she wants. And but that brings us back to what dogs and cats are, is, they're hunters. they're
Mm,
they're they're carnivorous,
mm,
and most of the pet food that's on the market is not designed for their systems. I'm
mm,
not saying all, but the, the, the large majority of pet foods that's available, commercially available, is like junk food for your pets.
yeah.
There's no other way you can put it. Even if it says all natural, blah blah blah.
Mm,
If you look at the ingredients, the first things that it says is corn, soy, wheat, potatoes, peas, all this stuff that
mm,
just they would never eat in their normal
yeah,
life.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just not natural to them.
yeah,
And that's why so many dogs have diabetes now, have cancer, have skin issues, have
yeah,
autoimmune issues. And
yeah.
same thing with cats. So I wanted to release with my partners a product or products out there that number one, educate, create a conversation about what are we feeding our pets, and
Mm,
number three is improving the pet's health,
mm,
and that again comes down to a choice.
yeah.
So our treats, for instance, are freeze-dried organ meats. So we've got liver, heart, and you want to see happiness. You present that to a dog or a cat. You know,
Mm,
offal organ meats,
yeah,
that's their treat. Going back
yeah,
to my children with the salmon roe,
yeah,
that's a treat for a human being.
yeah,
That's a real treat,
yeah.
because our bodies know, fuck, that's got omega-3, it's fat, it's just so good. Now your pets know,
Mm,
they
yeah,
don't want to be eating a dog biscuit that's full of rice or corn or
yeah,
peas or wheat or whatever it may be that's in there, that's filler. it hurts them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've also got raw meat patties, again, with lots of offal in it, a small amount of vegetables in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have dried food, and dried food isn't optimal for pets because it's cooked. It has to be heated for
Okay.
it to be formed. So
Yeah.
all dried food is heated, right? Um, so, but that's the way the majority of people feed their pets, because
Mm.
it's exactly the same as people feeding their kids cereal. It's
Yeah.
open the packet, pour it in. It's
Mm.
easy, it's quick. We
Mm.
think it's doing something good, but generally it's fucking them up.
Mm.
And so we created a dried food that's the lowest carbohydrate or lowest sugar content, because carbs
Mm.
turn into sugar, on the
Yeah.
market. And they all said it couldn't be done. The manufacturers like, it can't be done. We need to put all these fillers into it.
Mm.
And I said, well, we won't do it then. I'd
Mm.
rather not do it than put in something that's going to be harmful. And finally, they cracked the formula. So we've got a dried food for the people that still feed their. I see dried food as a transition. If people are feeding their pets dried food now, then let's get them onto the healthiest dried food, but at
Yeah.
the same time, educate them to bring them up to the raw food diet. So
Mm. Mm.
it's a solution that's out there. I very rarely feed our pets the dried food,
Yeah.
but they're getting the wet, raw, beautiful, and they're getting the organ meats into their bodies,
Which is what they want. That's organically
which
what
is
they want.
it's what they need.
Mm.
It's what they need. There's a difference, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing with our children. It's the same thing with us. Some
Yeah.
people want to eat
Yeah.
sugary foods or junk food, but
Yeah.
do they need it? Is that what their bodies need? So
Yeah.
again, it comes down to language.
Yeah. It's been an absolute delight today. I just, you've really energized me into doing the right thing. I know what I need to do, but it's sometimes things fall by the wayside and you look for quick and easy, and quick and easy doesn't necessarily mean right. And I'm all inspired. My little boy will thank you one day for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Irene. It's been a pleasure chatting with you all, and thank you for the time and the great questions. And thank you for listening, whoever is out there listening, and love you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.